Skill-based matchmaking is single-handedly the most misunderstood topic in all of video games, causing people like you, and of course, often like me before I had any idea of what it was, to get extremely frustrated at the experience I was having, especially when you're running up against players you feel should not be in your lobbies. The essence of SBMM is you're being put in a lobby that is too hard, and you don't want to grind that hard for it, because you're just playing games to have fun, and sometimes it's not fun to go super sweaty and try to win against players who are really, really good. I understand that, and I think a lot of you understand that too, but the way it gets put into practice and the majority conversation around it is actually pretty misunderstood and misguided, and hopefully this video will help you understand exactly when you fall into those traps of myths about SBMM and what is actually really SBMM and what job it's intended to do. Because I think most people have been actually complaining about something that isn't SBMM. Now, before we get into the video, I want to say this channel is typically about gameplays and guides and tips and fun things around the gaming world. But I noticed when I made this TikTok on my TikTok called Raynday Gaming, you guys can follow me there if you want. It got a lot of views, 17.3 thousand views. And what was more interesting is the comments. We had tons and tons of comments, hundreds and hundreds of comments, might be at 1,000 comments by now, people arguing about SBMM, which lets you know if someone's arguing that much, there's probably misinformation. I proceeded to try and go and answer more and more questions, but feel free to check that out. But it made me think, well, why are people so misunderstood? So I looked it up today, and I wanted to go ahead and basically read this article that I came across from GG Recon, written by Katie Mimit, and it says, Apex Legends skill-based matchmaking is a contentious topic. Now, this is the sign of a good article because the second I read it, it pulled me in. I said, I have to talk about this. So I want to read what she wrote. And I also then want to combat any myths that she's perpetuating throughout this article. Whether she knows it or not, I have no idea. I'm sure she's a great writer. GG Recon seems like a pretty decent website. They're trying to do a lot like Dextero, and I haven't been familiar with them. But let's get into it, and I'll try to correct anything that I see as just something that's false or that is worded in a way that could provide confusion for players about SBMM. Apex SBMM is ruining my life. You're telling me out of 70 million worldwide players, Respawn Entertainment can't find anyone for a public lobby of my same skill level, and instead has to smush my squad in with a team of 20 kill badge Apex Predators? I don't think so. Now, this is obviously the first myth and the first lie in all of video games. 70 million worldwide players. How many players do you have? Oh, 70 million. Fortnite, we've got 200 million. Call of Duty at Warzone. Warzone, how many players at Warzone? How many players? 100 and... Oh, Warzone, how many players total? 50 million players, right? In their first little while. This is a number of players who have downloaded and played the game once. This is not your active player base. We all know, if you're familiar with Apex Legends, that players had a huge skyrocket into the game, and it has since leveled out. There are not 70 million players to matchmake you with, and if you thought that was the case, of course this would be absurd. But the problem is, when you look at your level and you look at where you're actually being match made, not only between those 70 million players potentially split into the active player base, which is probably more like maybe 1 million people log in every day. So maybe there's 150,000, maybe there's 100,000 concurrent. But maybe that means that even though they're at the same time, there's 25 to 30,000 in Europe. Maybe there's 25 to 30,000 in North America. Maybe there's all split over Asia, right? And South America. And then maybe you look at even in Europe, there are different regions. In North America, you have West Coast, East Coast. So when you start to break it down like that, and then it's not only that, it's, you know, what level are they and who's being matched in a potential lobby with me, then you start to see where it's so misleading, saying words like 100 million players, how can I not find a match? You're not really being matched against that. And the amount of players that have downloaded the game once are nowhere near the actual number of players who have downloaded the game forever. And if you ever want a reference point, SteamCharts.com is a great reference point for who is actually playing. Among Us literally has 217,000 players. That is massive. I know Paladins, a game I used to work with, has well over 2 million downloads of players. So you could say 2 million players. But if you look at their actual Steam charts, there are 11,000 players currently playing. So, pretty misleading. All right, let's continue on. Players like me who average a few kills per game delight in moments of absolute beastliness, yet fall prey to panic easily. Can't be in the minority. Okay, all right. If you average a few kills a game and you delight in beastlies, so why do my squad and I constantly find ourselves in casual lobbies where we have a seemingly a 1% chance of winning? Technically having a 1% chance of winning, obviously this is just her opinion. It's kind of hard to go against that, but let's keep moving on. The problem doesn't lie within the Apex base. It lies with the markers of the inherently flawed skill-based matchmaking system that Apex employs, the devs of Respawn Entertainment. Okay, now this is also misleading. This is a second myth, that SBMM is some kind of special thing that Apex or Warzone or any of these other games employ because they're just doing their game dirty. Like, they're just trying to make their game unfun. This is very standard for the gaming industry right now. As matchmaking has gotten more and more effective, the goal of games to be match made is to put you at a level of skill with other players who are at that equal skill. I like to compare it to basketball. I like to compare it to any sport because I played sports and soccer. When you get out of a certain league and you go from bronze to silver or silver to gold or gold to premier, which is how it works in Southern California as far as leveling up in your brackets, and you take first, second place and get promoted, you play against harder teams. And that's the way it goes. If you are a better and better player and those 3 kills on average turn into 6 kills on average, you play against players who ideally are in a similar ballpark. And there's the randomization of, you can't be perfect. No one's exactly you. So they're doing their best to try to match you up. This is obviously something that employs a value to the industry overall. They may say they don't like it. It is a very strong public stance to not like SBMM. Even as a dev, you seem like the cool dev, right? Oh, the people up top are making me do it. Warzone devs have actually commented on things like that here. And you can see Michael Condrey saying that never directed into COD for me. I didn't do it. It's analytics, S-based matchmaking, monetization. I mean, you can tell this has nothing to do with the truth. Because if games didn't care about monetization, they would not care about being a game. Games are made to make money at the end of the day. Have fun, but also make money. And the corporations like Activision, like EA, they know that really well. Analytics are a huge part of that. The more you keep players playing, the more that you can make more money from them, the more they'll enjoy your game. And those concurrents, those Steam charts, people will come back and be playing a lot. And that is how a gaming industry on the back end works. So players thinking that this is somehow bad for the game, statistically, it is good for a game. It is. And if it wasn't, they would not employ it. They would do something else. So we have to think, why is it good? We'll answer that question in a second. Because it's not good for everyone, but it's good for the majority of people. Some may find it to be a fun... So yeah, it's a myth. It's not like Respawn's thing that they're doing. Everyone's doing this. Okay, some may find that a fun challenge to face off against players deemed better than them. I am not one of those people. Obviously, we have a myth there, right? Deeming better, Apex Legends, any type of Warzone skill-based matchmaking is going to inherently put you against people who are better and worse because that's just the way it works. Like I said, I can't imitate myself across the world playing a game, so that guy may have gotten some more practice than me today. He may be a little bit better. We may have similar stats, so it might be similarly even, but I may have an off day, and he may be having a good day, and now it looks like he's a way better player than me. The goal of skill-based matchmaking is the opposite. It's to match you with people who give you a 50% chance to win the game based on your own behavior, their own behavior, and of course, random factor that plays a factor in all of battle royales. So that is also a myth. It is not matching you with better players. That is when SBMM fails, and we'll get into why it fails. And it goes back to to the Paladins and any low concurrent player base, because there's a different goal in mind that probably puts SBMM on blast more than others. We'll get into that in just a second. I groan when I see a TTV Wraith announced as the champion for my match with her 25,000 kills, and my confidence immediately wilts. This is true. We all feel that way as well. But it is an important thing to realize. Getting a lot of kills and playing a game a lot does not mean that you are a better player skill-wise or that you have a better chance to win in a fight against somebody else. Apex Legends, there's a lot of things, even Warzone, especially with a lower TTK. If somebody takes a better fight than you, gets a headshot, gets an initial burst, they will have an advantage whether they're the player who's the TTV Wraith with 25,000 kills or not. Typically, when TTK is low, you have a lower chance of outlasting somebody if they get a better start on you. But the longer a fight goes, which is why Apex Legends may feel a little harsher in terms of SBMM, it's because better players with a bigger health pool will, over the course of taking down that health pool, be able to find advantage after advantage after advantage and slowly shift the game in their tide. And so that's one of the difficulties that we see in different games. A TTV Wraith sometimes in Apex Legends has more worth than someone who has just a ton of kills or a lot of experience in COD, because one headshot could kill you in COD. That just really doesn't happen without the only weapon in the game, a Kraber, in Apex Legends. This goes without saying, I've clapped many a Predator in my time. Well, there you go. You've clapped many a Predator in your time. If you've clapped many a Predator in your time, there's a reason that you're actually able to play in a lobby of Predators. But it's taken far too much effort and more than a bit of luck to do so. I think any player at a high level trying to go against the best player at a high level would obviously have a hard time going against them. I think we believe that for Predators, it's easy to kill other Predators. It is not. Everybody at a high level is very good, and it's not easy to kill them. It takes work. You have to play well, and sometimes luck and taking a certain fight does actually have an impact. Why can't I just have even gunfights where everyone involved is good, but still a bit rubbish, just like me? Okay, that kind of goes against clapping a lot of Predators, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I think that is a bit of an ask. To be good but kind of bad is a very specific level, and she seems like she might have played a lot of Apex Legends, and so that's one of the things that could be throwing her matchmaking off just a little bit. She seems like she knows the game pretty well. It has become more than frustration at this point. From adoring this game to the point of obsession, I now sigh when I hear the ping of the group chat and sing into my chair, ready for the merciless torture to begin. SBMM has basically eliminated casual play in Apex Legends. Okay, so SBMM, again, what she's focusing on and what it seems like from reading is that she's played the game quite a lot, but she's not very good technically. SBMM will constantly have to figure these issues out, and another big issue that SBMM will figure out is that what happens when you are a really good player, but you haven't played much? Because, like, say, pros, right? They play a lot, but they also play a lot in scrims. They play a lot that hasn't been tallied up in the game or counted for stats. But someone like me, so they may have less hours than a content creator who's just playing the game for a lot of content. However, someone like me who's played the game for many hours, obviously I may have good stats, I may have a lot of kills, I may have a lot of wins overall. But when I go into a technical game against a 1v1 of a Predator who's been practicing in scrims and pro lobbies and playing tournaments that don't count for his stats, but he's getting better and he's obviously at a high skill level, we may still lose that fight. So it's important to understand that someone having 25,000 kills does not mean that they're a better player than you. Having a lot of KD may not be a better player than you, but it does signify that you have the ability to understand the game. And so you will be match made into higher level matches with that. And it is it's nearly impossible to navigate how good someone is at aiming. But if they have a ton of kills because they put in a ton of time, that is a stat that a lot of people will get you playing in higher level lobbies against Predators who may not have that many kills, but will be beating you a lot because they're just really good in all aspects of the game. Okay, the question is on everyone's lips. While many claim Apex SBMM is a broken system, no one truly knows how it works. With a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and extensive research, I believe I've cracked the code. I think this is probably the biggest thing she's written. No one truly knows how it works. I can kind of give an explanation, but I want to see what she is doing. The overall skill of any lobby of players you're matched up with in a Play Apex playlist may depend on the following elements. If you're a pre-made squad, and they are a similar skill level to you, or they are an overall higher skill level, your KD ratio, your account level, your ranked tier, your performance in the last few games, kills, damage, placement, wins. She's right on most of this, but keep an eye on this first part, this pre-made squad. The way matchmaking works in general, and I do want to give her a couple more paragraphs before I break it down, but this is really, really important. Read this. Let's see if she gets into it. These elements determine the idea of an overall skill level, and a combination of these should work together to place you in a match with similar stats for more even gameplay. That's true. That is the goal of SBMM. It is not to give you harder matches. It's to give you even matches, which technically are harder than an uneven match where you're winning and someone else is having also an uneven match, but they're losing heavily, right? So that is the goal. And that is, for the gaming industry standard, better than having a few players always dominate and a lot of the player base lose to really good players who are in lobbies with players who can't even compete and will never compete and then quit, don't put the game up again because they say, this is hopeless, why would I play this game? Let's go to something else. So yes, this is the goal. This works. This keeps more players around. That is the reason SBMM is played. Obviously, a lot of elements feed off each other. If you're guaranteed to be a pretty high account level, if you're a platinum ranked player, and your KD ratio will be above average if you consistently perform well in matches, true. As for the pre-made squad element, taking from Apex Ranked, where you join the highest players ranked for matchmaking, I think that's what's going on in public Apex SBMM. Yes. Okay, so that is true. There are certain elements to SBMM in terms of pre-made squads, and for any matchmaking potential, I want to give you guys an understanding of the fact that matchmaking always is better with single players, because they can take individual stats and pair all of those individuals up in a way that is very direct, that is very clear, to make a lobby of 60 players that are ready to go, that are all in that same balance. The problem is when you have to fit a group of players into a game. Let's take a group of 2 bad players and 1 very good player. In Apex Legends, 2 bad players could be so bad that they're getting 200 damage, 100 damage, dying all the time, and the really good player is very good, and so they're matching these bad players up with the good player versus the good player up with the bad player, because the good player would just dominate that bad player's lobby because they don't know what to do. The bad players coming to the good player's lobby, however, will probably get dominated, and unless that one player is the best of the best, probably won't have a chance to 1v3 the other players coming in. It's kind of the same thing with Warzone. So it is harder to play in SBMM or in any position of matchmaking with bad players on your team if you are a good player. It will be a lot harder. Now let's look at the other side. 3 Predators get into a lobby. If you were looking at the overall skill, let's say give everybody a point for skill level. Let's say to be gold, you get 500 points. Or let's say 400 points. For silver, you get 300 points. Let's say for platinum, you get 500 points. Let's say for diamond, jumps up a bit, you get 700 points. And let's say for Apex Predator, you get 1,000 points. Okay. 3 Apex Predators jump in. That's 3,000 points technically of matchmaking value on their team. Now, in that lobby, the only thing that can compete with that is a team of 3 Apex Predators. And unfortunately, they have to play a game of Apex Legends. Because another rule that most people don't know is that games prioritize matches over matchmaking. Because there is a value where people will stop waiting for a match and they will quit. For instance, that 3-player Pred squad needs a squad of all Predators to be even. But so does Jimmy. Just got home from school and he is a silver with a diamond and a gold. So what's that value? He's 300 for the silver. He's a diamond, so that's 700, or 1,000, and a gold, so that's 400, so 1,400. So they're less than half the value in terms of skill as the Apex Predator team. But they have now gotten home and they're ready to play. And in their Central Coast region in North America at 5 p.m. after school, there are not enough players to fit them with a lobby fast enough before they have to wait 10 to 15 minutes. Now, if you're waiting 10 to 15 minutes in a game, you ever done it for a match? You're like, okay, screw this. I'm out. This game's dead. So what they'll do is they will throw that Predator squad who's also waiting sometimes into that lobby, which is why you will say, why are Predators in my lobby? What solves this? A ton of players concurrently playing the game at all different places at all different times, so that you have enough players to consistently match with, so little Jimmy can get a game within 3 minutes and doesn't have to wait 15, and thus doesn't have to force the timer to just say, okay, give this guy a game, throw a Predator in there. It's better to play and have that squad in there than to wait 15 minutes and then not play at all, and then quit and then not open up the game for a week because he doesn't think he can get a game. Does that make sense? That's why SBMM is doing that. And that is why you will sometimes see 3 players in the Predator side in a lobby that they shouldn't be in, because they're valuing getting a match, not necessarily a perfectly even game, which is frustrating for the players who have the Predator in the lobby. I agree. But also think of how impossible it is unless you have a full lobby of 60 Predators. It is impossible to matchmake against pro players. It is impossible. And which is why I actually had Scump open, who was talking about SBMM. I may play a small clip of him because he does illustrate this point very, very well on why it really sucks for pros. In a now deleted Reddit post, Apex player explained their research into SBMM, saying that when they reach level 15 with a Smurf, a throwaway account, which an experienced player makes in an effort to get placed in lower ranked matches. They were placed into lobbies with apex predators, but as they started to throw games, killing themselves immediately, they noticed that those predators began to disappear from those lobbies. This is maybe just a random chance. I didn't see the post, but it feels like it could just be a little bit of a random chance. They want to discuss the fact that the account began to not only eliminate apex predators from lobbies, but also diamond players after 15 deaths in a row. This backs up the element of SBMM that deals with performance in previous games. For this test, also, you have to realize that this player is just not performing well. So any value that he has to matchmaking matchmaking is a constant value. You're constantly either improving or not improving in the system. If you won 100 games in a row and you dominated, I mean, that's how you become a really strong player. And it would show. You get 10 kills every game. So if you die 15 times right off bat, yes, your value for matchmaking will go down, which is the key. Every single player, you yourself have a value, maybe 300, maybe 450, maybe blah, blah, blah. The better you do, the more it increases. The less you do, the more it probably decreases. And you even out where you pretty much consistently play. From this test, you can glean that perhaps a win will almost guarantee you a tougher lobby next time you ready up. Maybe, but what it is when they have matchmaking issues and conversations around the match, they're not saying this is a brain, this is a computer, this is a system. The system is saying this player went from 450 to 500. They just won. They got 10 kills. We need to start a game. They're playing again. All right, we'll throw them into this higher level lobby. It's possible. Higher AAAs own their skill. In reality, every game starts to feel like a ranked match and turns their game into the fix and turning to other games to get their fix of Battle Royale action. The now viral Reddit post vented about their experience with SBMM and Apex Legends, saying mostly, I can't just jump on and have a good time anymore. It's not fun. I'm continuously killed by pre-made squads who have a collective kills of 100,000. So we now know, right? This big myth that this is SBMM. It's not SBMM. This is actually SBMM failing. But this is also SBMM in general, how every matchmaking system fails. Because there is no way for three of the best pros. Let's look at a famous team like TSM, where you had, although is now Snipe down in there, you had Hal, you had Alberelli, you had Reps. They won $500,000 Poland final. Then they get on and play some casual matches together as a three. There's no way to matchmake that appropriately. Everyone in the lobby is going to experience a loss. And unfortunately, unless they play ranked, it is going to result in 57 other people realizing that saying SBMM sucks. This is not a problem of SBMM. This is a problem of pre-made groups, which is why SBMM is obviously better the more individual you are being match-made. The more you are in a pre-made group, the same issue happens where you have two bad players and one good. It is very hard to match-make a solid experience with groups in that way. So I hope that clarifies things, that SBMM is not throwing predators into your lobby. SBMM is throwing players into your lobby to avoid waiting for a game that could take you 15 minutes and just have you quit and not play Apex. But the issue is the pre-made squads themselves having no ability to be match-made for in any matchmaking system. Does that make, there's no way to make for the, I'm trying to hammer it home. There's no way to match for three predators except three predators and a lobby of predators. That is the only way you'll have an even game. Good thing though, Battle Royale has these ups and downs, and they have a lot of really interesting and unique kind of approaches to how the RNG can take place. You don't get a weapon, you land weird, you grief them off drop. Maybe you get them out of the game early, and then suddenly it's an easy lobby. You never know. But that's the way, that's the Battle Royale aspect. Matchmaking is typically much better in this regard when solo players are queuing into like a straight 5v5 competitive game like a Paladins, a Smite, a League of Legends, an Overwatch, because if you have just singles queuing into that and you have a standard territory without RNG and the characters and it's all just kind of set, you understand the math of how this works out, then it's a lot easier to have consistency in that regard. Battle Royales are pretty inconsistent sometimes. This is a bit of a sad post. I'm not going to read it. I can let you guys read it. But it's basically complaining SBMM. And the goal of these guys complaining is saying that, he's getting matched with premates, which we all know now is not SBMM. That is a failure of SBMM. But that's also a failure of matchmaking and just one of the hardest things online gaming has to deal with. And people haven't really solved an answer. There's really no answer for that because of the value of how good those players are. My charge rifles and the care package ranked. He was unhappy with a couple of different things. And remember that there's another couple of posts here that she adds. SBMM totally works. My favorite part is when I go against 3 Apex Predators. Do you see the myth there? Apex Predators being in your match is not the goal of skill-based matchmaking. It is the antithesis. Remember, it is the intended to give players of similar skill with each other games in multiplayer competitive games. That is not what this is. He knows it, but he's still saying it's SBMM. That is not SBMM. SBMM has become unplayable in Play Apex with real-life friends. My 2 bronze friends cannot compete with 3-stack pred diamond lobbies every game. As you can see, he is saying his real-life friends. Everyone knows when you play with your real-life friends and not your gaming friends, they weak. They worse than you, because that's how you described them, right? Because they just casuals on the Xbox. You are going to lose because you're being match-made in a pre-made, and they have to go up to your level. You can't go down to theirs, otherwise you'll dominate the lobby, and that will cause more players to quit, then benefit for you to have more fun and stay and spend a bunch of money and have a great time. It's a negative response on a larger scale than the positive little response you get from beating people who are clearly not as good as you, which is not a great positive response. You do it once or twice, then you get a little bored. Oh, this is interesting. My son is in tears because you still haven't removed SBMM. He said he misses the old days before Season 3 when you could have fun playing with your friends and the lobbies didn't smell like G Fuel. Please let my child have fun again. Remove skill-based matchmaking. I mean, that was deep. He hit hard. 486 likes on that one. 47 retweets. Clearly hasn't played Apex Legends because lobbies just smell like normal air. Okay, not like G Fuel. But I agree that, what he's saying is that he misses the days before Season 3. What happened before Season 3? What am I going to say? Well, what happened after Season 3? Population decrease. The game still has a healthy player base, but in terms of Season 1 and 2, when it was pretty much one of the biggest games on the planet, videos were going viral no matter what you put out, there were more concurrent players to matchmake with. And afterwards, when the consistent player base has had their fun and they've moved on to other games, and now you've got the core and a couple new players, the core, less players to matchmake with. And sometimes you get bad games. I understand it, man. It sucks. But I hope you guys understand why it's happening. And it's not SBMM doing it to make your games hard. I haven't watched this video, so I'm not going to talk about it. Gaming Merchant did a vote, essentially content creator in the Apex Legends scene. He said 73% of 3,683 players polled, which is in general of the Apex player base. Even the player base itself, rather small, but overall the poll was that it is not good. But it also showed dissatisfaction the higher the ranked level of the player. So this gives us a very interesting point, which I want to kind of end a lot of the conversation about just a little bit before we get into the devs. The big thing about SBMM and players, everyone thinks this when SBMM, shut up, stop complaining, you pro. Stop complaining, you pro. In order to get into what that is, I want to play a clip from a video of Scumps where he talks about why he doesn't want SBMM. Just have a listen.
With that in pubs, I mean, just look at it from the perspective of, say I want to go for the Damascus camo that's going to be in this next game, whether it be diamond, whether it be whatever it's going to be. Say I want to go for that, right? Say I have to snipe, I have to use dual pistols, I have to use freaking shotguns against people with 4 or 5 KDs that are just absolutely going so hard. It's just going to be, oh my gosh. I mean, you understand. It's going to be an... And I straight up just don't think that high of a skill-based matchmaking belongs in pubs. And that's why I'm saying just tune it back. I don't mind it if it is in pubs. Again, I don't want to play against the bottom 10 to 30% of players, but I also don't want to be playing against the top 1% in every single public match.
I think this was a great conversation from Scump, because I think this is how a lot of pros players feel. And you see, the higher level you are, the higher dissatisfaction. Now, Scump is Call of Duty champion. He's probably one of the most famous Call of Duty players ever. He's got 2.56 million subscribers on YouTube, and his salary from Call of Duty is about 1.5 million outside of all the YouTube and streaming money and endorsements and stuff that he makes. So you think about this. How many of you make 1.5 million playing Call of Duty professionally? I'm going to go with a big guess. I'm going to guess zero. I think I'm right. Unless, Scump, you're watching, I think I'm right. So he is not only in the top 0.0001%. This guy might be the number one. So how do you match make somebody like that into a system? You have a gym, because basketball, the NBA Finals have just come on, and regular guys are playing. And LeBron James and the NBA Lakers call next. Not only are they the best team in the world in basketball, how do you have a fair game against them and guys like that? You simply don't. There is nothing fair about it, which is why they put LeBron in a room with Jimmy Butler and with Giannis Antetokounmpo and with Kawhi Leonard. Oh, wait, sorry. The Clippers couldn't handle their business this year. Sorry. Maybe next year, get in the room, man. But if he could get in the room, he'd be in that room, right? He's a great player. I do like Kawhi, but, I'm a Lakers fan. And they let them play. And yeah, guess what? LeBron going up against Jimmy Butler is a work. But that's the only thing that makes sense. And I do believe if you look at it from that perspective, you will understand why the reverse of LeBron coming into you, when you go to your gym every day, you're trying to play 5v5 and just play with your friends. You have a decent jump shot. You can play defense, but you don't have much athleticism. And every day you got to play against those Lakers in that lobby, in that gym. You're going to stop going to the gym. You're going to find a new gym. I guarantee you will find a new gym. You might not because of human things, right? Oh, I want to see LeBron. I want to take a picture with him. It's cool that I'm learning to play against LeBron. But for most people who are just trying to win or lose, you're going to lose every game. So you probably won't continue to play, which is the big issue with that way of thinking from high-level pros. The fact that they don't want to be in a high-level game is unfortunate because they're literally no one else like them. So the only way to fairly matchmake them is to put them with people who are as close to them as possible. And it does make pubs pretty sweaty, but it is the only way to make pubs fair for pretty much everybody else. And it's kind of the risk and the responsibility of being such a good player. Now, we have a few comments on the devs. Random matchmaking could return to the game. Well, this fan was asking about it, and he said they're hoping for fair matches. Respawn devs come out in their support of SBMM, but do admit it could do with some fine tuning. Standing strong against the fans calling for change is Respawn senior systems designer Eric O'Hewitt, who stuck up for Apex SBMM. SBMM will become the norm for most match multiplayer games, as there is indisputable evidence through data it helps out something like 80 to 90% of the community with retention for most of those games. Right? Which hurts the 10%ers. The 10%ers, including him, who he is an insane player. This is someone who is one of the better players. He's an Apex Predator. He's also a dev for Respawn. I've played against him. He is actually an insane player. He would fry pretty much everybody except a pro. I promise you that. And he is talking about, from his perspective through data, that even though he's the one getting hurt by it, it helps 80 to 90% of a community, whether they think so or not, which is why it's so funny. And I think that's the last part. Why does most of the community think SBMM is bad? We'll talk about that in just a second. I know still, though, ours might need some tuning potentially. And I think that's a great place to say. It does need some tuning. It does need something. There's never an end to getting a system right or better. And I love that approach from Eric, man. There are some positives. Let's see some people who have talked about positives. I love how I can notice amazing progress compared to last year. When I started taking video replays of Apex, I read the game better, I aim better, I have overall better time, and thanks to SBMM, the opponents keep getting harder and harder. Awesome. Interesting take, but I think that is an honest way to look at it. If I was developing as a player, I would want to play against better and better competition. I agree. People are still complaining about skill-based matchmaking. I don't see what the problem is getting matched up with people around your skill level. I tend to also agree with that, but we all want to win, so therefore we do look at problems if we're not winning. Even though we might have had an even chance to win the fight, we tend to blame things that are out of our control versus looking at what is in our control, such as our own ability to improve the way we took a fight, where we position. We tend to like to play external circumstances, which helps save our psychology as saying, oh, wow, I'm just a bad player, right? There's also the issue of the Apex Predators needing to find matches. Only the top players in the world reach Apex Predator, and at the end of the first rank series, the breakdown of players was as follows. 0.2% of Apex Predators. Just from these facts, we can determine that if Apex SBMM was only putting Preds in lobbies with each other, they'd be waiting for hours for a game. See? Not very fair. From this point of view, it's easy to see why we are sometimes lumped in one game with catastrophic consequences for the lower ranked players. However, that's ranked. So why does SBMM take these stats and still exist in public lobbies? Well, actually, because ranked is such a lower population that public lobbies are where most of your player base is going to play. Ranked is going to be 20% on a good game, 20 to 25% of a good game of high level of a lot of people doing ranked. That's the amount will be. So you still have most of the players playing casual lobbies all the time. So what you're doing is still, even for Predators and them, and for everyone else, respecting the fact that where your real player base is having an experience is in public lobbies. Ranked was made to be for competitive players. And remember, ranked, this is the part of the issue is that competitive players don't just sit around and want to play ranked all day. So they need a way to be match made, but also get games in public lobbies, right? I mean, that's what's kind of, it's really actually because like if all high level players only played ranked and never played public lobbies, this wouldn't be an issue. But we know that a lot of high level ranked players don't want to do that. They just want to chill out and play public lobbies, but then they become hard and then they start to complain about the fact that if I wanted a hard game, I'd play ranked. But we all know that, you know, at the end of the day, the SBMM would be less for most people if they were always just playing ranked. Anyone joining the Play Apex queue is going to have to get competitive to survive. Ranked surely exists for the percentage of players who want to fight hard, so why can't random matchmaking be introduced for the casual playlist? Question being posed on Twitter. And he says, I've seen from my experience playing, it makes no sense at all to have SBMM in public matches in a game that has a ranked mode. Oh, well, see, there you go. You think that everyone also plays ranked mode or wants to play ranked. SBMM, obviously, works for a casual level because that's where most people play. So you have to, from what Eric was saying, prioritize the fact that 80 to 90% are having better games and better experiences and retaining, which means if they log in Monday, they'll log in Tuesday. Or if they log in this week, they'll log in next week as well and 4 more times this month and keep playing and keep, buying things, etc., right? So that is what retention is. So it works for the majority. 80 to 90, 90%, that's a huge majority. That's most of the game. Fixing the issue. Is there a way to be fixed? Target Smurf accounts with anti-cheating Smurf accounts or brand new EA accounts made by players. We know what Smurfs are. This comes with its own set of problems. Players in those lobbies are beginners, and they're going to have to face off against players much better than them and have no way to combat that. Smurf accounts are interesting. Add more tiers to ranked. I don't believe that is an answer because you will not get all the population playing ranked. I don't care how much you try. Jimmy coming home from school. Bob, who just had a hard day at work, cracking open something to drink, playing 30 minutes before he has to have dinner and chill with his family and kids for the rest of the night. He's not playing ranked, I'm telling you. In a way, and that's a lot of people. In a way, I'm flattered by Respawn. They clearly think I'm good enough to pose a challenge to sweatiest of all sweats for 10 matches in a row. So for that, I thank them humbly. But with that, ask for mercy. Please fine-tune skill-based matchmaking for Apex Legends public lobbies. My heart can't take it anymore. Honestly, I love this, Katie. You did a great job in this article, and not only that, you hooked me in with kind of a strong opinion, but you also qualified it with a lot of information, gave a lot of different perspectives, and offered some solutions. So I want to give Katie a big shout out for this, and I want to give you guys my last statement as to not really how to fix Apex Legends skill-based matchmaking, but the big reason why everyone is so confused and the myths around it. When you have players in the 10%, you have players who have more power vocally. They are more followed on YouTube and Twitch. They're more followed on Twitter and Instagram, and they have more time in the game and a stronger opinion because the livelihood, a lot of times, of their game, of this game matters to them. They have to play it. It's a job for them, so it isn't something casual. So when they experience frustration, they don't just get off like a normal person and then go do something else. They talk about it. They want it fixed because this frustration could end up being their life. SBMM directs them and affects them the most. But everyone else who follows them are the people who really aren't getting affected by SBMM very much, and it is intentionally and most often helping them out. There are fail cases, like the 3-stack Preds, like you playing with your bad real-life friends who are bronze and you're diamond. But for the most part, outside of those circumstances, SBMM provides you with a good experience. That is the point of the game, of the matchmaking. So what's the key here? People are listening to players who are having their worst experience and then denoting that when they fail, when things go bad, when they do see that Predator stack lobby, that yes, that experience is true, that my favorite creator, my favorite streamer, etc. mentioned. And they're equating their negative experience as someone who has the hardest experience in SBMM to the other 90 to 80%, which most of them surely lie. Now, remember, there are not just 0.2, there's 2% in Diamond, and there's a wiggle room, right, between that Platinum and Diamond. So say there are 8% of people who are experiencing this in some ways. I get it, man. I was Diamond last season and ranked. It's tough. I was playing against people I was casting the next day. I mean, I'm professionally casting these dudes trying to win, $100,000. I'm playing in them in my lobbies. I get it. It's tough. But at the end of the day, if you blame SBMM or you listen to someone blaming SBMM, chances are you're not affected about it in the way that they are, and that their opinion that it's bad is often misguided and poised on frustration of not being able to be successful in a game that they've tied a lot of their life and time and content and a lot of money to most of the time. So yes, SBMM is frustrating. It makes guys like Scump, who are literally probably the #1 player in all of the world in Call of Duty, make $1.5 million a year, go up against sweatier players, because Call of Duty is saying, we don't want you playing against anyone else if we can help it. Unfortunately, you're that good. These are your rewards on this side. The negatives are you don't get to stomp noobs, even 50% of the time. Maybe one game you get a kind of a newbie game. The other time you're going to have to work hard for your gameplays and your streams. And I think that comes with the responsibility of being a high-level player. It even comes with the responsibility of being a content creator. And it's even worse because I don't have a skill like somebody who's a pro, but I just put a lot of hours in and time. So I always get match made in those higher level lobbies. And it's tough. And I don't want to act like I don't have sympathy or that I'm coming off crass or condescending. I really just hope people understand that SBMM has been made to be an issue when it is actually serving the majority of players, and sometimes maybe even you. I hope you guys do enjoy this one. And remember that instead of looking at SBMM as an issue initially, maybe look at how you get to have taken that fight, how you can maybe prepare yourself better for the next round, how if you would have maybe decided to back off and heal, you might have had a better chance of winning, despite whether that player had 5,000 kills or not. I've killed many players with more kills and more stats than me, but it was because I took better fights. And when I rushed in and wasn't focused and I wasn't playing well, I lost to a lot of players who were average, worse, and better than me. At the end of the day, if you blame SBMM, you make everything about what match you've been put in, and not about how good you can be or what you can control. And unfortunately, if that's the case, not only in this game but in life, then you blame your circumstances, and that means that you have no power. So hopefully you start to understand SBMM more, give it less power in your games, but also understand that internally, even if SBMM is a thing, let's look at how I could have gotten better. Maybe that was a bad lobby. Maybe I was 3-stack pred, but I probably could have downed that pred. So what could I have done to do so? And how do I need to improve? This is what I have to say for this one, guys. Hopefully I have debunked a lot of myths of SBMM. Thank you, Katie, for the article, and GG Recon for providing this. And I want to hear your comments and your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, remember to subscribe to stay tuned for more gaming educational conversations like this, and just topics that maybe people have a hard time understanding, because I've worked in that dev side and I have a lot of experience with this. I really do hope it helped some of you and educated some of you, and I hope you just enjoyed hanging out with me for this 43-minute video. Give it a like, please. It was a long time. I expected this to be much less, and then we had the conversations we needed. All right, never give up, never stop gaming. Subscribe, leave a like. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.